That's baby
No.
from before birth.
He also does like things online, but you haven't seen him first, I think.
I've seen him.
Okay, we're online. Okay. מזבח חדש בציין תכין ויין עשוי חדש נעלה עליו מזבח חדש בציין תכין ויין עשוי חדש נעלה עליו מזבח חדש בציין Tavavavachin v'aylas Ravavash chaydesh nale V'yantachim v'aylas Vash chaydesh nale Adam V'yachadash v'yantachim v'aylas Vash chaydesh nale Adam Mizbeach Chavavash B'Tzion Tavavavachim V'Yaylas V'Vavash Chaydesh Nale V'Vavavala Nessim Tzidor La 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 You dyed your teeth to match your hair. Service maybe, okay. Okay. This is the Holy Jordana. Esther, you know? No, you know the first name, and Miri, you know. And your first name again?
Avi.
Okay, so yesterday we read from, thank you. Yesterday we were on page Yud Bet and Yud Gimel, and we're going to start again on Yud Gimel at the paragraph of Bechinet Yaakov hu Bechinet Rachmanut. So, just a brief summary of what we've done so far. This mimer is from Dalter Rebbe, and was said 210 years ago, approximately. And it's a Svartim Lachem. He's talking about Sfirat HaOmer, and he's going into the concept of Svartim Lachem, that Svartim means to count, but it's the word is also related to the word Sapir, Evan Sapir, or sapphire stones, that your Midot, right, during the 7 weeks of Sfirat HaOmer, we count the 7 weeks are correspondent with the 7 emotional attributes, the 7 Sfirot. And the idea is that during this time, we're preparing ourselves to receive the Torah, right? Pesach is the aspect of Ratzah. There was the revelation of godliness, and it was like, okay, everybody, let's go. It was a big rush. We rushed out of Mitzrayim, right? And as you know, you can take the boy out of the yeshiva, but it's hard to take the yeshiva out of the boy, right? You never heard that before? And you can take the Jews, you can take the Jews out of Egypt, but it's harder to take Egypt out of the Jews, right? So we weren't quite ready yet for the marriage that was going to take place at Mount Sinai with Hashem, right? And the Zohar sort of compares the 7 weeks between Pesach and Shavuot to the 7 days of Nida that the woman is preparing to get together with her husband, and that period of separation is actually creates a greater longing, right? So we had this experience with being with Hashem on the night of Pesach, right? It was the revelation of the Shechina. And now we're going through these 7 weeks of anticipation and longing, and to experience the unity with Hashem in a much deeper way than we experienced it on the night of Pesach. And that's the aspect of Shav, the returning, right? So Yecheskel, in his vision, he sees the Chayot, which is a category of angels, and he says, "V'hachayot ratzov v'shav." The Chayot were rushing forward and returning, and two really good words are, the concept of ratzov is inspiration, and shav is application, right? So in order to receive the Torah in such a way that the whole idea of the Torah is that it's the way Hashem is the way in which Hashem gives us the opportunity to bring His presence, to have His presence manifest in our world, in this world, right? Now, in order for that to be, so when you're doing a mitzvah, when you're learning Torah, so if your channels are on the level of sapphires, right? If your spirot, if your midot have been perfected, so then everything that's going to come through you is actually going to be glowing with light, right? I think I told you, I don't know if I told you personally, you guys specifically, but I noticed that with holy people, I noticed this with the Lubavitcher Rebbe, I noticed this with Rav Shlomo, I noticed it with Rav Steinsaltz, particularly with Rav Shlomo. I remember once at a concert and we were dancing, and I'm trying to get eye contact with him. And like I wanted him to look at me, and it just wasn't. He was looking at everywhere else, but not at me. And then when the instant that I stopped thinking about that and I just thought about Hashem, immediately his eyes connected, And I paid attention. I watched that his eyes always went to whoever was thinking about God at that moment, And I noticed that by Rav Steinsaltz, and I've noticed it. So the idea being that, in other words, when you want to receive Hashem's light, when you want to receive the Torah properly, right? You need to be in the right place. You need to be in a place where it's going to be where in other words, if you want the light to come through, you need to be ready for the light to come through. Just for the information, you can pick up the Chumash and read the Chumash, but it doesn't mean that you're receiving the light. One of the commentaries on the verse that we read this past Shabbos, when Hillel says to the convert that that's the whole Torah, what he's saying to him, this is one of the commentaries on that, is that he's saying that there's a level of Torah that you can only receive when you really have true Ahavat Yisrael. Because every Jewish soul, so to speak, I'm saying so to speak just because I'm being careful with my words, owns a letter of the Torah. Okay? And it's only when you're connected with every soul, the Ahava, that you can access that letter of Torah that belongs to this neshama. Right? Generally, the word Israel is also explained as an acronym. Yesh Shishim Ribui Otiyot LaTorah. The Torah has 600,000 letters corresponding to the 600,000 root souls of the Jewish people. right? And a Sefer Torah that's missing one letter is not kosher for public reading. Sefer Torah that has two letters touching each other is not kosher for public reading. Okay? Each letter has to be there. Each letter has to have its integrity. Every Jewish soul has to be there. Every Jewish soul has to have its integrity. Okay? And it's only through Ahavat Yisrael that you can really understand the Torah in its fullest meaning. Whereas if you don't have the Ahavat Yisrael, you can know what it says. You can go take a course of biblical grammar and understand and know how to translate the words and so on, but you don't really have the Torah. You read it, but you don't have it. So the idea that I'm trying to express over here is that in order to really receive the Torah, the 7 weeks between Pesach and Shavuot are dedicated to actually preparing ourselves, perfecting ourselves as much as we can. And it's important to say as much as we can because that's all that's expected of you. In other words, it's not expected of you to be perfect. It's expected of us to be to perfect ourselves as much as far as we can achieve. And the rest Hashem already will fill in. But when we do that, so then when you receive the Torah, this is light. Okay? So otherwise, if you're not perfected yet, so you read the laws of shatnez. You can't wear garments of wool and linen, right? And a lot of people are like, what's this about? Why can't I do this? Doesn't make any sense to me, right? Whereas if you're perfected, you see it as another one of God's lights coming into the world. Okay? You don't need to, there's no need to understand the reason for it. Because you just realize this is something, is one of God's lights coming into the world. So long as I feel somewhat blocked from doing a certain mitzvah because to my mind or to my way of thinking, I can't connect with it, that means that there's something in me that's not receiving the light yet. There's a level of bittul, a level of nullification of the ego that has not yet been achieved. Okay. So he in the earlier parts of this Maimer, Dr. Rebbe was talking about. So how do you achieve that, right? So how do you get to that level of achieving that, and more specifically, the mitzvah of remembering the Exodus is, the Torah says, every single day you have to experience your liberation. And when particularly in the davening, you want to answer, Miri, when particularly in davening is the moment of experiencing that liberation? When you're saying Shema Yisrael, right? And you say, V'ahavta Hashem Elokecha b'chol levavcha v'chol nafshecha v'chol me'yodecha, to love God completely, meaning to say that there's nothing in this world that's holding you back from being in complete full love with Hashem. B'chol levavcha v'chol nafshecha v'chol me'yodecha, right? So Dr. Rebbe starts to go on to explain that the davening, the siddur, from the word seder, is really a guided meditation to lead you up to Shema Yisrael, so that at the time that you get to Shema Yisrael, you're actually ready to experience that liberation of being fully liberated from anything worldly that might hold you back from being in a complete relationship with Hashem. Okay? Now, in a different mimer, maybe it's actually in this mimer further on, Dr. Rebbe explains, so why once we get to Baruch Hu, we speak about the first blessing after Baruch Hu, we speak about the angels and how the angels are praising God and so on. So what he's explained so far over here is that basically that is to allow you, not to allow you, but to encourage you to raise your consciousness to to the realization that the plane of that we live on is just one narrow plane of existence in a much larger universe, and that up in Shemaim there are all these myriads of angels that are just constantly rushing towards God and wanting to jump back into the fire of God, even if it means that they're going to lose their identity and so on and so on. And in elsewhere, Dr. Rebbe explains is that we are a composite being of Nefesh Elokit and Nefesh Bahamit. We have a divine soul and we have an animal soul. And the divine soul is always wanting to be in connection with God. The animal soul is driven by self-preservation and gratification of its needs. Now, the animal soul is not negative, and if it has not been corrupted, there's nothing negative about self-preservation and gratifying our needs. It's only once it's been corrupted and it's willing to go gratify its needs at somebody else's expense, that's a problem. But the animal soul, in its origin, used to be one of those holy angels, one of those chayot. That's where it originates from. And that's why the animal soul behaves like those chayot, that just like those chayot are just yearning to go back into their point of origin, in God, where by doing that they would be consumed in the divine flame. They don't care about that. They just want to be in complete unity. That's why the animal soul in this world behaves in such a way that it'll seek its gratification even when it's to its own self-detriment. So, but the real point is that as you're getting ready to say Shema, that blessing is for us to, so to speak, communicate with our animal soul and remind it of its origins, so that when we say Shema, the animal soul will participate willingly in B'chol v'ahavta Hashem Elokecha b'chol levavcha v'chol nafshecha v'chol miyadecha. Because the animal soul normally is interested in survival. So if a Jew is in a situation where he has to give up his animal life for Hashem, for Mesilut, the Kiddush Hashem, right? The instinct of the animal soul is like, no, I want to stay alive, right? But when the animal soul is aware that its real identity is from those angels of the Chayot HaKodesh, the animal soul wants to participate. The animal soul, normally when you wake up in the morning, whether it's 6 o'clock or 7 o'clock or 8 o'clock, the animal soul says, what? You're going to shul? Go by yourself. I want to stay and sleep another hour, right? And the neshama says to the animal soul, the divine soul says to the animal soul, no, we got to go. And the animal soul says, no, we're going to stay here and sleep, okay? And the Gemara says that the enslavement or the exile of the divine soul within the animal soul can be so extreme that a thief, as he's breaking and entering, prays to God for success. Mister, you're praying to God? Didn't God say, don't steal? Yeah, but business is business, religion is religion, and the animal soul says to the divine soul, tonight we're going to do a robbery, and you're going to come along and you're going to pray that we don't get caught, right? That's how the Gemara describes the extent of the enslavement that the divine soul can be experiencing within the extent of the exile that the divine soul can be experiencing within the animal soul. Okay, so the avodah is that when you're going to be saying Shema Yisrael, to be able to say it with your entire being, not just your divine soul, but that your animal soul should participate and say, yes, I'm here to contribute my energy in serving Hashem. So now, he went on to say that the Gemara says that that's what it means to experience your liberation every day, right? He wanted to explain that the prayers were established by the Avot, by Avram, Yitzchak, and Yaakov. And Avram is the archetype of Chesed, Ahava, loving God and bringing Hashem's love into the world. Yitzchak is Gevurah, severity, judgment, and so on. Fear, awe. And Yaakov is being explained as Tiferet, and Tiferet being the balance between Chesed and Gevurah, the harmony between the two of them. But it's in Chabad Chassidus is explained as Rachmanut, is compassion. This week is the week of Tiferet, is compassion. Compassion means the Hebrew word for compassion is Rachmanut, comes from the word Rechem, which means what? A womb, right? So it's describing, it's the word that's used to describe to describe the relationship between a mother and the fetus in its womb, that you're doing everything that you can for the well-being of that fetus. So compassion is the attribute of Yaakov to combine the chesed, the ahava, and the yira in such a way that it will be productive. So somebody did earlier, so that it will be productive for the soul, and so that the soul can achieve its purposes. Hi. So you sit next to Esther, you can share with her. Young man, you can come here and sit and share with Avi, okay? Shalom Aleichem. What's your name?
Shalom. I'm Yehuda.
I'm Yehuda. Sounds Jewish. Okay? So he says that Tfilot Avot Tiknum, that the prayers were established by the Avot. So the prayers consist of verses that elicit our love for God, and verses that elicit here. Sit over here and share with Avi, and you can share with me. So the prayers consist of verses that to elicit our love for Hashem, and verses to elicit our fear and awe of God. And now we're going into explaining the aspect of Yaakov of Rachamim. Now, what is this about? So he says, on page Yud Gimel, B'chinat Yaakov, hu b'chinat Rachmanut. The aspect of Yaakov is the aspect of compassion. So the what's that about? The Hainu Mishli Bokalev Ha'evan. There are times that a person feels that his heart is like a heart of stone. Do you remember there's a famous aphorism from the Kotzker Rebbe that there's nothing more complete than a broken heart. You ever hear that?
Yeah.
You understand it? You understand it? So explain it.
Gotta understand it to explain. You just have to know.
You just have to know, okay, beyond words.
Yeah.
You can't have you can't have like a full degree of shlemut unless you've experienced some kind of brokenness in your life.
But even at any given time to experience wholeness, the heart has to be broken, right? In systems theory, anybody here ever study systems theory? No? A closed system is a dead system. Okay? Because it's not interacting with anything else. It's closed. It's not alive. Anything that's alive is always interacting with everything else, right? So the broken heart means your heart is open. If it's not open, so it's not whole because it's not connected with the whole. Okay? So there are times where a person feels like their heart is a heart of stone. Somebody is, like for example, I gave the example yesterday. Like some doctors, or maybe I don't know how many, maybe many of them, like they see blood so often, so that when they see somebody bleeding, it's like business as usual type of thing, right? There's no right. And Moyle sees the baby bleeding, he starts to get anxious and freaking out. Like you got to stop this. You got to do something about it, right? People who work in the cemetery and burying bodies all the time, it's not so simple for them to always have respect for the bodies, right? As a matter of fact, there was a case over here about a year ago. They were caught on camera. These hospital attendants who were attending to this woman who was in a coma, and the family noticed that the lady has bruises and things like that, and they were wondering how's she getting bruises? She's lying there in a coma. Anyway, they installed some secret cameras, and they found that the attendants were like treating the body like a schmate, to reposition the body in the bed. And this was caught on camera. They'd grab her by the hair, like this and that and so on, right? So when you encounter something on a regular basis all the time, to maintain the sensitivity is not so simple. Okay, you can learn about holy things, and sometimes you get excited by it, and your heart is excited, and it's a flame, and you really want to get into this. And then other times, ho hum, like you're bored. I was sitting by the Verbringen by Rav Ginsburg in Purim, and one of his top students was sitting there next to him, and Rav Ginsburg was giving the Dvar Torah, something really beautiful. And this guy was sitting there and just sort of listening. And then during the singing, I overheard Rav Ginsburg say to him, "So you're bored, eh?" And he said, "Yes." And are you familiar with any Rav Ginsburg's material? Yeah. He said, "Yes."
I mean, I know. I wouldn't say.
Yeah. So he said. So Rav Ginsburg said to him, "Pray that Hashem shouldn't be bored with you." Right? We got to pray that God shouldn't be bored with us. Right? We oh, Shalom is in shul again. Oh, watch, he's going to put on his film again. Let's see, what is he going to be thinking about? What's he going to be doing while he's saying the words of the prayer? Is he really talking to me? No, this is boring. Right? It's a serious problem. Right? It's a serious issue. So what do you do about it, right? So Bechinat Yaakov, the whole idea of Yaakov, the aspect of Yaakov is that Bechinat Rachmanut is the aspect of compassion, the Hainu, that is, Mi Shelibo Kelev Ha'even, one whose heart is like a heart of stone. She'af Shemidbonen Bechol Hanal, even though he sits and he meditates on all the great meditation that was learned in the previous chapter. Lo yavo libchinat v'ahavta shebikriyat shema. He sits, he meditates for an hour, and he thinks about like what a beautiful scene up there in Shemaim, the angels and so on, and all that they're doing. And then he goes and he starts praying, and he gets to Shema, and he just reads the words, and he's not touched by it. V'ahavta Hashem Elokecha. Yeah, Rashi says it means this, and this is what's expected of me, but he's not actually experiencing the emotion of ahava, right? Put a piece of cake in front of him, then he's experiencing ahava, right? But v'ahavta Hashem Elokecha, he's not experiencing it. לא יבוא לבחינת ואהבת בקריאת שמע, and why not? מחמד שקשור מאוד, the third line of that paragraph, מחמד שקשור מאוד בהבלי העולם, because he's very attached to the vanities of this world. להיות יש בדבר בפני עצמו, he sees himself as a independent or separate being. He doesn't see how his whole being is very tenuous and is entirely connected with Hashem, giving him life energy at every breath. Right? Kol haneshama tehallel, hallelujah. The last verse of Tehillim, right? So there's a medrash that says, Al kol neshima v'neshima tehallel kad, praise God for every breath. So he doesn't see that, and he's just attached to everything of this world. Machmat zeh, and because of that, libo kalev ha'eben, his heart is like a heart of stone, right? Right? It's raining, the stone is still a stone. It's hot, the stone is a stone, right? Stone doesn't care about what's going on around it. So what do you do then? So the advice for this is, arouse great compassion on your soul. Arouse compassion on your soul. In other words, stop, think about the fact that you have a neshama, that your neshama is desperate to be nourished. It wants to be connected with its source. And it's there in a state of captivity in your body, because your body is not interested in your neshama, right? But it is your neshama. But I don't feel anything for it, right? Well, if you don't feel anything for it, so then do something to arouse your compassion for your neshama. Okay? I mentioned yesterday that a quick way to arouse the feeling of compassion is by thinking about a situation in which your compassion is naturally going to be aroused. And Dr. Rebbe, there's an example. You're in shul, the mourners are starting to say Kaddish, and never you hear, all of a sudden you hear the voice of a 6-year-old saying Kaddish. Right? As soon as I said that, I saw right away. You felt compassion, right? It's just so there are techniques to actually bring out a feeling of compassion. Think about a situation in which you feel compassion, and then say, that's how I would like to feel for my neshama. I'd like to feel that for my soul. Okay? And as it says, Yaakov, who redeems Abraham, and Yaakov is compassion, and Abraham is a verse in Yeshayahu, and Abraham is love. So with compassion, by arousing your compassion, you can also arouse your love for God. And this is done by the verses in the prayers which are all about compassion. For example, exalted King, and with your great compassion, have compassion on us. Avinu Avarachman, our Father, our compassionate Father, Rachem Aleinu, have compassion on us. V'tein b'libeinu bina lahavinu lahaskil, and give us the wisdom in our hearts to understand and comprehend. V'lo nevosh lo'olam va'ed, so that we will not be eternally shamed. What eternal shame are we talking about? Perush, that means to say, ki nektiv, it says, ki lo yir'ani ha'adam, next page. Lachai, it says that God says to Moshe that man cannot see me and remain alive. V'amru Razal, and the rabbis teach, v'chayehem enam ro'im, while people are alive, they cannot see God. Aval b'mitatam ro'im, but at the moment that the soul leaves the body, we do see God. We do see the truth. Why? Why is that? Because while we're alive and the soul is dressed in the body, and the body is like a straitjacket on the soul, and the body covers and conceals over the soul. The physical reality, our physical life, is such that it looks like this world is the real thing, right? This world is the real reality. Up there, like I mentioned the other day, a friend of ours was getting married, and his parents were here for the wedding from Texas, and they were having a great time. And then the day that they were going back to Texas, I heard his father say, "Okay, we're going back to reality." This whole Yerushalayim experience was not reality to him, right? After all, what we do over here all the time, we just go and party, we learn a little bit, another wedding, another bris for Hashem, another tichel party, right? Thank God, right? And to them, this was like, this is not reality, right? Reality is, this is true for all of us, obviously, right?
Mm-hmm.
Is that, reality is the kiddush after davening more than the davening, right? Something like that, right? Aval b'tzeit hanefesh mihaguf, but when the soul leaves the body, azai ro'im shebe'emet, then we see that in reality and truth, mahuto v'atzmuto, we see the truth of God's essence. Haya hoveh v'yehiyeh b'li shum shinui. We see that God's essence is true and present in time and space without any change. Past, present, and future, all at the same moment. And that in reality, there's nothing that can confine God or conceal God. It's just that we fell for this deception. It's like mekach ta'ut is a Talmudic term that you buy something and you find out that it's not what you ordered. It's not what you thought that you were getting. So it was a ta'ut. It was a mistake. That this was a complete mistake. And you see at the end, you find out that all that you bought into this physical world was like a huge mistake on your part, right? So then, then the shame is going to be huge. Then you find out that that all your thoughts, all your life, and all your goals, all your life was to figure out a better way to shovel snow or to grind water, right? Tochein maim, it's an expression in modern Hebrew. Like, when you're wasting your time, they say tochein maim, you're grinding water, right? So it's all hayubah blei ha'olam basakav, that I spend my life in the vanities of the world and the business of the vanities, as if this was a real thing. And this is a tremendous chutzpah, right? That, what did you do? Like, you were in the king's palace and all you were doing was playing with the toys, right? And therefore, so therefore is our request of God. With your great compassion, Rachem Aleinu, have compassion on us, within the Libenu Bina, and give us Bina, give us understanding in our hearts. Hainu, that is, Lavin Davar Mitoch Davar. The concept of Bina is that somebody who has Bina means that he can figure out one thing from another thing. You see this physical world, but you can figure out from the physical world that there's a creator. And that it's worthwhile getting in touch with the creator than just being in touch with the physical world as if it's independent. Hainu, we're praying to God, please have compassion so that even while my soul is still dressed in its body, Yavin v'yaskil, that the person that I should understand that shebe'emet hakol batil betachlit, that in reality everything is nullified to God. ultimately nullified. Everything is really as it was before the world was created. There was no change in God whatsoever, right? In other words, God is exactly the same before creation and after creation. It's not as if once He created the world, there's now God's space has been, so to speak, limited. There's no change for God. In other words, even though to us the physical world looks like its own reality, right? But in reality, it's a manifestation of God's will. Okay, and that in fact, this is the place where that we're here precisely to connect with Hashem from within this physical world, because God's desire is to have a dwelling place in the lowest of all worlds. So we're praying, God, have compassion on me so that I can understand this, so that I can be aroused by this, so that I will not be eternally shamed. So that this shame should not be eternal afterwards. And that's what's meant when we say that Yaakov, the attribute of compassion, redeems Abraham, redeems the love that the embedded love that your soul has for God. Sometimes when your heart is like a heart of stone, you need to arouse compassion in order to liberate that love that you have for Hashem. Okay? This is a very important lesson, because often, so I go to shul, daven, and at the end of davening, wasn't anything really something, right? So what I really should be doing then is, especially before davening, but even at least after davening, you sit down and don't just accept the fact that it was ho-hum. Sit down and spend a minute thinking about your neshama, and thinking about that your neshama could have had tremendous joy during the davening. And it didn't, because I didn't take the trouble to have compassion on it. Right? And to try, at least before you leave, have a moment of, try to arouse a moment of compassion for your neshama. But especially during the prayers, that's the whole idea. All those verses where we say, God, have compassion on us, right? To think about, is my soul being nourished? Right? When you see somebody starving and you have compassion, you give them something give them a slice of bread, give them something to eat, right? The neshama, if you think about the neshama is there, you took it to the pizza shop, you took it here, you took it there, but that's not what it eats. It needs a mitzvah. It needs a mitzvah, right? Yes.
What if your struggle isn't the clip of the gashmias that you have as your physical body, right? The actual struggle you have is you're already past this point where you see past this your goof, but it's the thoughts, meaning you're into your davening, you're paying attention to the words, and you even know that this takes serious practice and determination. But it's whether it's the everyday habit of thought, or the inappropriate thought, or just the thought of just being
same thing. You got to think down. Right. That's also this. In other words, I was giving examples with Gashmias, right? Mm-hmm. But when he's giving examples with Gashmias, what he said is that it's not just that. In other words, what you're telling me is, listen, Chaim Yankel is more sophisticated than being attached to a shtickle cake, right? But the guy who's attached to the piece of cake and the guy who's having the problem that you're describing, and basically it's the same problem, is that he sees himself as a yesh v'davar b'fnei atzmo. He sees himself as separate. That's the problem. Understand? So whether it's separate because look at all these people in shul, I'm way more advanced than they are, right? Or that happens sometimes, right? I remember once back in Montreal, when we started having people over, this guy comes and says to me, I'll really get involved with what you're doing and put my energies in here if you make sure that only quality people come to your house. Never heard of such a thing, quality people? Huh?
Well, everyone's got some quality to them.
Yeah. I'm just saying, but he wanted to make sure
He
that
clearly didn't know what he meant. Yeah.
Yeah. He didn't. You're right. Why weren't you there? Right? Okay. It's still he's a yesh, but he's a more sophisticated yesh. He's going to have a harder time getting rid of his yesh than the guy who's stuck on the piece of cake. Right?
Look who thinks it's nothing.
But yet,
Look
still,
who thinks
compassion
it's
is this tool.
Huh?
Compassion
The
is
tool
still
is
the tool.
compassion. Compassion is the tool. So you've got a big brain, and you're intellectually satisfied, but you're still not connected. Right? What's the greatest thing that the Torah tells us about Moshe Rabbeinu? What's the biggest compliment the Torah tells us about Moshe Rabbeinu? That he was on Mount Sinai? No. What's the biggest compliment that the Torah tells us?
Humility.
That he was more humble than he was the most humble person on the face of the earth. More humble than anybody. That's a chachma. Yeah. Rabbi Leibel Eiger was the grandson of Rabbi Akiva Eiger, and he became a chassid by the Yishbasur. His father, Rabbi Shlomo Eiger, actually asked his father, Rabbi Akiva, if he should sit shiva for his son. He told him no, because they were misnagdim back in those days. They would actually sit shiva over a child who became a chassid. Yeah. It's
I
hard
feel
to
like that
believe.
still happens today.
It's longer than a week.
And anyway, so he sends a shaliach to Kotsk. He became before he went to Ishbitz. Before he went with Ishbitz, he was in Kotsk. Sends a shaliach to Kotsk to go and find his son. Shaliach comes to Kotsk, and the Kotsker Hasidim, like the whole avodah was truth, and anything that wasn't true, it was like get rid of it. So dressing fancy and making sure that your clothes are matching and this and that and so on, and all that stuff was looked down upon. And the Kotzker Hasidim, they were expected to give up their worldly possessions, because worldly possessions can also be keeping you from truth and so on. And they would sit and eat the grub from a bowl on the table, all of them together at the same time, and there was no such thing as Rabbi you. It was, so this shaliach comes and he says, so he goes over to someone. He says, I'm looking for Rabbi Leibele, the son of Rabbi Shlomo Eiger, the grandson of Rabbi Akiva Eiger, the great Goen. Where can I find him? We don't know anybody here like that. Just another person says, I'm looking for Gaon, Rabbi Leibele Eiger, the son of Gaon, Rabbi Shlomo, the grandson of the great Gaon, Rabbi Akiva Eiger. We don't know anybody like that. Goes over the third guy and says, oh, you mean Leibel Shlomo Akiva's? Yeah, he's over there. In the meantime, all of a sudden, somebody comes running, Muttl's coming, whatever the name was. Everybody gets excited. Muttle, oh wow, let's go see Muttle. So this shaliach asks the guy, who's this Muttle? Is he what's so special about him? He says, oh, he's a truly humble person. So he says, is he a big scholar? He said, no, the guy can hardly read. Is he wealthy? Poor like the dirt. So what's he so humble about? What's so great about him? Because his humility is honest humility. Anyway, the humility is a very, very difficult thing. Once somebody came to a Rebbe and said, I don't understand. It says in the Mishnah that Kol haboreach min hakavod, whoever is trying to escape from honor, honor will pursue him. I've been trying to escape from honor for a long time now, and it hasn't caught me. She says, because you keep on turning around to see if it's catching up with you. You know? Now, the point is, you know, you can fool yourself in very subtle ways. You know, you can really very subtly fool yourself. It could be so subtle, right? So I can know a huge amount of Torah, and I can be an advanced meditator and all of that and so on, and still not be connected, because there's the lack of that humility. You know, I'm a Talmid Chacham. I'm a real meditator. This is a serious problem for some people more than for others, but everybody basically has to deal with it. And that's the idea of Yaakov Asher Padal Avraham. You're not feeling love for God because you're just so much in love with yourself and you're thinking about yourself. And that's the big problem. Right? Now, are we going to get to that level? Are we going to be tzaddikim and so on and so on? So, like one of my Chabad friends who's a shliach, he says that their motto is, we know we're going to Gehenna, but there's going to be a Farbrengen there. And in the meantime, stop thinking about yourself and just think about what does Hashem want right now. Forget about where you're going. We're not. Stop calculating what level you're at. So, Hashem, what do you want me to do right now?
How do you do that?
Well, you look in the Shulchan Aruch. I mean, you learn how to do that. You know, you learn how to do that. Just like when you catch yourself thinking about yourself, right? Just imagine, Mr. Hashem, someday soon you're going to have a family and children, right? You're going to learn what it means to think about your kid instead of thinking about yourself. Okay, you're going to learn. The kid's screaming at 2:00 in the morning, right? You're not going to sit there and you're not going to say, well, I'm forget it, kid. I'm just sleeping now. And you learn to think about others. That's maturity. Right? So I don't really understand, you know, everything that you want of me, God. But you do understand enough that your neshama really wants to do what Hashem wants.
You have to get to that place, though.
So
How do you get to that place
do
without?
you take the raket with Kala or whatever it is, you know?
It's a long shot.
You go, no, so that's why it's so important to have a Rebbe, to have a tzaddik that you're connected to, because you need their help. It's not so easy to do it by yourself, and you need to make sure that you go out every day and that you do some acts of Ahavat Yisrael. So, in other words, and you need to spend significant time learning and meditating on these things. But we can do it. Understand? See, at the end of the day, you know, if I ask myself honestly, how much time did I spend today actually being aware of my neshama? I know that I opened up a sefer and that I did this and I did that, but how much time did I actually focus about, like, you know, my neshama and focus on, like, you know, what does Hashem want and so on. So it's X amount of time, let's say. I'm not even going to say how much it is. Doesn't matter, right? But for every person, right? But the question is, okay, was that quality time, or was it just like, oh yes, I have neshama, you know? Or was it quality time, you know? Did you actually think about what is your neshama saying to you? What is it asking of you? Right? So, V'hinei kol hanal, so all this that we've read until now, shehu b'chinat ratzo, page Tedvav. That's the aspect of ratzo. That's the aspect of rushing towards Hashem, Yitziat Mitzrayim, Exodus. Eino ela lenefesh elokit bilvad. So that's all the experience of the divine soul. Shehi bebchinat galut b'toch mitzarim v'gvulim ha'vachasim, which finds itself, the divine soul which finds itself in a state of exile, in a state of constrictions and narrows. Like Paro said, Lo yadati et havaya, I don't know Yud-Kei Vav-Kei. K'moshe Katuv, and as it says, Anochi ered imcha Mitzrayma, Hashem says to Yaakov, I will come down with you to Egypt, V'anochi alcha, and I will raise you out of there. Shezeu, I'm sorry, he said that to Yaakov. Shezeu shenemar li Yaakov, that was said to Yaakov, Shehu hanefesh elokit bilvad, which is, Yaakov is the divine soul itself, Yud Akev. Yaakov is spelled with the letter Yud, then Ayin Kuf Bet, which means the connection between the Yud and the heel. Right? Yaakov Chevel Nachalato, Hichelik Havaya Amo. Yaakov is connected to God like with a string because Hashem is with his nation. As it says, the Jews saw the great hand that God performed the miracles with. That means to say that Yisrael alone, right? There's Yaakov and Yisrael, so Yisrael is the higher consciousness. Yisrael alone, that is the divine soul, saw the hand of God. Yisrael alav b'machshava. Yisrael was the first thing that God thought about. Yisrael, and the word Yisrael breaks into the letters Li Rosh. When you're in the state of Yisrael consciousness, that means that you're aware, you see, Li Rosh, you're aware that you have a head, you have a leader, right? Yisrael bilvad ra'u et asher asa havaya. And only Yisrael saw what God was doing. Okay? And likewise, B'kriyat Shema, B'chinat Ratzo, Yitziat Mitzrayim, B'hanal, V'ahavta. So likewise, when you're saying Shema, and you're having this inspiration of Exodus, of liberation, and being in love with God, that is really what's happening for your divine soul. The animal soul, the animal soul didn't stop being an animal. It still wants to continue eating like all other animals want to. And in order to receive the Torah, which is what? Which is the Torah, is the revelation of God's will, how God wants his will to be manifest here in this world. So there has to be the aspect of the nullification of the animal soul. And this was accomplished by the raising of the Omer of the barley, Usfirat HaOmer, and the counting of the 7 weeks of the Omer. That the Omer was to be lifted before God, for your will and benefit. On the day after the first day of Pesach, the Kohen is to lift it. So just a couple more lines. The Omer was brought from barley. What's special about barley? Barley is animal food. Wheat is what's consumed by humans, and we also eat barley, right? To make beer, right? But generally, we eat wheat and the other grains. But barley is usually was the animal feed. So the what he's getting into over here is that that the raising of the Omer of barley means to say that the avodah that's beginning on the second day of Pesach, with the counting of Sfirat HaOmer, is that the whole process is also to raise your animal soul, right? How do you raise your animal soul? The process is by refining your midot, right? So the first week is all about blessing. The first week is all about chesed and refining what you love and how you love, etc. The second week is about gevura. It's about whether are you being too much gevura, are you having enough gevura, are you using the gevura properly, etc. Okay? The third week is which we're in right now, is tiferet. Okay, are you using your compassion properly? Are you in touch with your compassion, etc. Okay. So that's all the raising. That's all about the raising of the animal soul, is by refining it, by refining its midot. Okay? So, like I said before, the animal soul to begin with was not corrupt, but it's been corrupted by the Sahara, right? And once it's been corrupted, we need to refine it so that it's not just my neshama that's going to experience this love for God. It's not just my neshama that's going to say, wow, it's so good to be in touch with God, but my animals should participate in this as well. And that's what we're going to go on to Yishishim tomorrow. Okay, so tonight, we start